everyone. We awake to this magnificent, beautiful weather and a sunrise over the lake. The morning of day 3 on my Wakimika trip this year. So today's kind of the objective. I'm going to paddle south of here through the Obabika River to the north end of Lake Obabika, and then right across to the old growth trails. And there's about 6, almost 7 kilometers of trails through what is apparently the largest remaining grove of old growth white pine and red pine. This was to be cut, of course, in the late 80s, and mercifully environmentalists and other people got involved, made enough noise that the government decided to change its mind, revoke the permits, and made the whole thing protected. It's hard to imagine how quickly all these national treasures got ruined, and at the same time, obviously, the country had to grow. I don't know how you reconcile it, but boy, I'm awful glad it's here. So I'm really looking forward to it today. Slept better than the other night. I don't know if I feel as rested, but I think I slept more. You never know how that works sometimes. There's a few mosquitoes here on the site, but other than that, it's been pretty nice. So I'm just having my breakfast, and when that's done, I'll pack up and off we go. Here are my ratings for campsite 2. It's a pretty nice site. Still difficult to find a level site for the tent, and the price is ridiculous. Other than that, it's a great place to camp. It's about 9 o'clock, 9:05. I just got out of in the boat, moving a little slower today. It's only my 3rd day, but yesterday was a lot, and I don't know what, I'm just feeling kind of draggy, even though I thought I slept better. Who knows what the math is on these things. So we're headed off to the Obabika River, and then all that oxbowing that's in there, and then out into Obabika Lake and right across to the old growth trails and see what we can find there. I'm really looking forward to seeing the big trees, and we'll just go from there. So we're headed south to the mouth of the Obabika River at the south end of Wakimika Lake, and follow that south from here. There's nobody here on this lake except me. Just absolutely quiet. And the water is calm. It's wonderful out here. So in this section of the Obabika River, the first part is got a whole pile of meanders to it, and on the map I counted 10. I remember back in the day it seemed like more than that, and so what I want to do is mark the distance here at the beginning of this, and then see what we've got when that finishes up, because you're really going to increase the total travel distance compared to just a straight crowfly distance when you get to the other end of this, which is okay, but it's just good for planning purposes. This is looking north from the Wakimika Obabika River area. Lots of big hills over there. We came through that country yesterday. Pretty nice. So I can see the river in behind. I just got to find exactly where the mouth is here. Shouldn't be that hard. So sit here. But it seems like it's blocked. Like, I don't mind the grass, but seems like there's a, like this looks like the mouth, which is what I originally started at. But maybe there's a, like a change in direction or something that fools you somehow to get in here. I don't know. It's right on the compass point. So I was right, but I didn't trust myself, which is, I think we can get in maybe here. Let's just see. Hopefully there's not too much beaver stuff going on in here. The last time I remember being here, the river was nice and big and deep and wide. There was no problem getting through. So hopefully that's still true. Yep, there we go. And it's downstream, so we get a little bit for free, which is always nice. It's a pretty decent current, actually. I don't know if I'd want to paddle the other way on this. Probably going a couple of K an hour anyway. So we'll say 1.3 kilometers when I started. Say one, yeah. So 1.3, and we'll see what we are when we get done. So far, this is far more shallow than I remember. So far, but maybe that will change. It seems to be deepening a bit now. A real lost world feeling in here. It's amazing. This is more how I remember it here, the bigger trees and the deeper water. And we were two in a canoe, and I remember us really going through this. Okay, we've got to lift over here. That certainly wasn't in the plans. Let's see if we can get by it. Oh, good. I have to try that hard then. Well, I must say I appreciate the people who are keeping this open because, my gosh, it clog up real quick. And every spring, right, you're going to have stuff come down. A lot of cedars here. I wouldn't sell life insurance to, but hopefully for today it's okay. Well, if my $50 campsite pays for maintenance here, then that's well spent money. This would be absolutely impossible for normal people if it wasn't people who hadn't kept it up. So I will take that one for the team. So based on the GPS, it looks like I'm about 1/3 of the way at this time. So that's 600 paddling meters. We'll see what how this all goes. The double-bladed paddle works pretty well in here. You just have to watch when there's obstacles. You don't get the paddle caught on both ends so that you could bend it or break it or something. You just have to really be mindful of that. But mostly it's not too bad. I would expect this thing to get a little wider and a little deeper as we go downstream, and that'll make it a bit easier. Well, so far, the beaver dams that do exist have been cleared. Which is nice. I don't know if that's just nice canoes or someone's doing that, but thank you. That foam you see, that's not pollution, that's from the proteins in the water and the flow. So it's sort of like taking an egg white and frothing it up. So that's about a kilometer now, maybe a little more, just over. I'd say we're a little over halfway, maybe 60%. Oops. Closer than thought. Pretty close to done right now. You can see the opening behind the trees. We'll see how we get through this. Tricky, and that tree probably just fell not too long ago.
Hello, and thank you for watching this video. It is a pleasure to share my adventures with all of you. To help achieve my goal of at least 1,000 subscribers, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to Hiking with Henry and click on the like button for this video. It is completely free and would be of great help to me. Thank you very much.
Figure what happens now. The water's too low. The first beaver dam hasn't been modified, so the idea is to get up on the sticks and then help your canoe over like that, and then we'll get out of the canoe here and pick it up on your side. Doesn't look too bad. Famous last words. I just try and keep your feet somewhat dry before this is. Guess I should have got up the other side. Oh well. her over. Another beaver dam up here. And that one's been disturbed. That will get their attention tonight. Probably from the water from the storm. There we go. There's some white water. So that's 2 full kilometers in here now of meanders, which I think is maybe a kilometer as the crow flies, so it's double the distance, which is hardly a surprise, of course. Seems like a big opening coming up here, so I think we're probably almost finished. I thought it would be more mosquitoes in here given what was at the campsite, but there's the odd one, but nothing too terrible that I could tell. Well, the map seems pretty close based on everything, so while I'm sure there's changes, it
certainly not wholesale, which is very encouraging for people looking to what to do here. And it seems like we're following the track on the Garmin maps almost bang on. This should be the last corner here. And thanks for coming along.
This is a small lake halfway through between Wakimika and Obabika Lakes, so just halfway between here. This is the section of the Obabika River south of that middle lake. Pretty nice. This whole area could have been destroyed with logging and everything else, but they stopped it, and pretty nice.
Go ahead, throw it away.
opening. Well, folks, that hour and a half of going down that river between Wakimika Lake and Obabika Lake is got to be one of the nicer river paddles I've ever done. If you can get up this way sometime and do it, I think you'll agree. I'm now on the west shore of Obabika Lake. We've got a pretty fresh north wind coming right now, so I'm just paddling up the lake a little bit here to get some shelter as I'm trying to cross the lake over to where the old growth trails are. And when we get there, we'll have something to eat and then we'll do the trails, and then the plan would be to go down the lake. Now we're gonna have to see just how big the water gets. Right now there's no water, it's just the wind, so the wind pushing you, that's always a nice thing, but you can end up with 2 and 3 foot swells and chop. They can swamp you, so you have to call it be able to go all the way. I'll have to see just what's possible, and the sense of that is what campsites make sense with that situation. So right now we're just doing this, if you can hear the wind, and we'll go from there. So the old growth trail where it was supposed to be, I couldn't find it. There's a cut through the beaver dam. There's a whole pile of junk on the other side, but I didn't see any trail, any sign, nothing. So we're going to go back to the portage and do it in 2 pieces after I eat lunch. So I'm just here at the portage on Obabika Lake to go up to the old growth. So it's about 600 or 700 meters up the hill, and then we'll see what we can find for trail. And when we come back down, then we'll head south to a campsite somewhere. So I've been in about 1.5 kilometers on this one loop. They're not, 4 foot diameter trees, but the red pines are pretty big. And here's a grove with quite a few big ones here. These are all 2 feet, maybe a little more in diameter, and there's a few behind me, as you can see there. So we'll see what else they have. So I have my back right to this one. I think this is the biggest white pine I've seen so far. Pretty amazing. But it's wider than I am. There's another one right here. It's a little bit smaller, but pretty cool. So these three red pines behind me are all about 18 inches in diameter. Now I've seen big ones like this, but not all together like this. It's just kind of cool. So we leave the old growth trails. So what do I think of that? Well, that's one hell of a wild trail, I'll say that, for a lot of up and down and rough country, but it's pretty well blazed, so you shouldn't get into too much trouble. It is interesting to see that many older trees. I've seen, like in Algonquin, for example, white pines that are bigger than here, and they say that this has never been cut. So I don't know, would have thought some of them would have been bigger if they've never been cut, you know, just based on that logic. But also, it's pretty tough climate here, and the soils and the rock and stuff, and that's probably going to slow down, at least to some extent, the growth of a lot of these trees. But it was still really neat to see the growth. It reminds me of that forest I saw down near Simcoe, whose name escapes me just now. But those were Carolinia trees with way better growing conditions than anything that would be here. So what's left today? Well, I'll tell you, frankly, folks, I'm having kind of a rough day. I'm tired and achy. I don't know if it's just my third day of this or just what, but anyhow, the plan is to go down to near the portage to the northwest arm, sorry, so that tomorrow, which is when I propose to go home, is not too far, because I got a fair paddle on Temagami proper. So that's the plan, and the wind seems to be a little bit on my side for this trip, which is very nice, and we'll appreciate that. So I'm pretty lucky here on Obabika. The wind is right behind me. If I do nothing, I'm still getting 3 kilometers an hour. So even though this isn't my best day, I can still do pretty close to 6 without trying very hard. The air is come from the north, which is not normal. You'd think it'd be clean, but I think it's got some smoke in it. It doesn't really smell smoky, but there's some real haze all over the place here. And these big cumulus clouds, you kind of hope by 5 o'clock don't enter something worse, but I guess we'll see what happens. It's not supposed to happen, but you know, that's the way it is. But wow, what a beautiful place. I took an image of the campsite that I was on with Frank. In fact, I'm just abreast of it now. It's on the opposite side of the lake with my camera. And when we did we came out of Willow Island Lake over to Lady Evelyn through Diamond, Wakimika into here, so it's like 40 in one shot. That's kind of how it used to be. Mine's just 2 guys in 1 canoe though. So we were able to single portage and double paddle, so it's and it was a bit faster canoe, a bit narrower, and so tippier too. Anyhow, that's where we stayed our last night. We're going to stay one more night and look around here, but the weather on the surface started looking a little grim. This is '07, so there was no satellite anything in those days, and so we came out after 7 days. That's my longest trip, I think, that I've ever done in the backcountry. It was pretty nice. As of yesterday, I had about 58 kilometers of personal travel, and then today, hiking and canoeing, I would expect something in the neighborhood of about another 20, low 20s. So I think we'll be just over 80. And if that's the case, then tomorrow, depending on where I start and whatever, we're looking at about 30, maybe a little less, because I was doing some other stick handling when I got near the main part of Temagami, which I decided not to do probably. So, but anyhow, it should be about 105 or so, maybe 110 would be on a little heavy, I think, but we'll see for 4 days. So it should improve the fitness level a little bit anyway, eh? This year I made a lot of changes to my canoe gear. So the double bladed paddle, which I've talked about a fair bit in some of my videos, and my camera stuff in the canoe, the GPS, my little mounting and everything for it. I switched from the bungee cord to a Velcro strap pair to hold the canoes in the boat so they don't bang all the time, which is really nice. And it's funny, you know, I have this spreadsheet that tells me the weight of everything I'm taking with me. And I did it honestly. And then I put my pack together, and it was supposed to weigh 60 something pounds, and it ended up weighing 52. So I don't know if I'm overestimating or what, but I'll take it. And so the pack is right about where I'd want it. I wouldn't want it any heavier. It gets to be too much. Hard to put on, you're always afraid you're going to tear it, and hard to carry. I think that 50-ish for, you know, 600 or 700 meters is plenty. I've been able to carry it for, you know, the longer portages I've done, which are, you know, a little bit over 400, without having to put it down. The only portage I hopscotched in this entire trip was the one, the second one, the last one we did, where we climbed up to the road, and I put it on the road and came back and got the canoe. That was the only one. And other than that, it's been pretty good. So what a beautiful way to travel, folks, you know, it really is. And you know, you get half decent gear and you just get reasonable fitness, and you can do this, and it's just an amazing experience up here. This area is phenomenal. got pretty good blow coming from the northwest right now, which is behind us. So thankfully we're not fighting the wind, but it's still kind of coming in the rear quartering waves. And right now they're not high enough that I'm too worried about it, but we need to get to the campsite I want to get to. So we're just gonna see how this works out. So it's one of those things. So this is my front view of my site here at Obabika Lake. It's amazing. And there's also over there a view of the lower lake too. This is a giant site, and so just for little old me, but that's where it goes tonight. And so I'm just about to have dinner, day 3. It's amazing how these days are so varied. I mean, I started off this morning in a quiet lake with pretty it's clear sky, but the haze from the fires. And then I did that wonderful meandering river. And then I had to negotiate my way across to the top of Obabika, which wasn't too bad. Back and forth to try and figure out where the trail started. And then beached the canoe, and then up into that trail. Just did the right one. I had to get here too, and I'm tired today a little bit, so that was enough. And that thing, so it was about 4 kilometers, maybe a little just over, and it climbed 1,000 feet. So that was enough. So that's 2.5 miles, and anyhow, whatever. It's a workout. I'm really glad I had my poles because you know, with that kind of situation, especially going down, there were some very significant downhills there that it's nice to have the poles. Then you get back on here and it's okay for a while, then you suddenly get into this, you know, big wind and rear quartering waves of, you know, 18 inches to 2 feet high. And but that canoe is so buoyant, I'm telling you, it's amazing. The only thing, like I say, it's only half full with just me and one bag, so it's pretty buoyant too. I never had any real worry about it. As long as I paid attention to keep the canoe going the way I wanted, just didn't let it just go, I felt it was going to be okay. And the time that Frank and I were on Lady Evelyn with the same canoe in '07, that was a much heavier laden canoe, and we had bigger waves coming behind us, and that went on for too long, and we made that too. So anyhow, here we are. It's all good, and I'm just getting ready to make my dinner. I'm hungry, but I just had to wait a little bit so that I didn't eat too soon. I'm going to go to bed in good time tonight, and then try and get a good start tomorrow. This is another 25 with portaging on top of it, so there's a fair bit to do. And then I want to have a nice break at Loon Lodge before I set home. So it's going to be quite a day, and but I find these early mornings, it does help. So we'll see how it goes.
I began day 3 at my campsite on Wakimika Lake, marked item 1 on the map. I then paddled the upper part of the Wakimika River between Wakimika and Obabika Lakes, a very wild and meandering route. This area is marked as item 2. The southern part of the river is straighter, but also beautiful, and this is marked item 3. The old-growth forest trail that I followed is item number 4. I then paddled 7.5 kilometers south on Lake Obabika, dealing with increasingly active water as I went. I was grateful to find a large campsite at the opportune time for my third and last night on this trip. And my total travel for the day was 17.4 kilometers by canoe, and the hike at the old-growth forest was 3.9 kilometers, but my gosh, with about 1,000 vertical feet of climbing, so that was a heavier day than it sounded, and there were no portages, for a total then of 21.3 kilometers for day 3.